Damming streams to control floodplains is not the best practice way anymore. I mean, basically the best practice way is that you learn how to manage the waters within the floodplain and you don't build in the floodplain.
When CU purchased the property, there was a reclamation plan that showed that the property would be restored with large ponds that would mitigate floods. But CU was more interested in maximizing the development potential of that property than in protecting downstream residents. CU modified the reclamation plan by removing the large ponds and by adding a 6,000-foot earthen levee surrounding the property. So when the 2013 flood came, South Boulder was catastrophically flooded.
But the gravel pit remained unflooded.
In 2014, the City of Boulder did a study where they took the FEMA data and their own survey data. The data show only 30% of the damage came from South Boulder Creek main stem. The other 70% came from the tributaries, which are things like Veely Channel, Bear Creek, Skunk Creek, those types of sources. So why are we spending tens of millions of dollars to build a flood wall and dam that's only going to contain the water that did 30% of the damage? If you look at where a lot of the damage came from that was in the Fraser Meadows Manor, they since have done a very good job of rescaping the land around them so that if that flood happened today, it probably would not have caused anywhere near the damage.
The annexation agreement has a flood protection plan that does not account for climate change and the increased magnitude of floods that we're currently experiencing. It will not protect Boulder residents against a large 500-year flood.
100-year storms are determined using historical data on rainfall, but here's the thing.
There's no accounting for climate change in the way those were done in the past.
Humans are also changing the impact these storms can have on an area. The more we develop, the less open soil there is to absorb all that water.
When a planner many years ago or decades ago would have said, okay, this area can withstand a 100-year storm, well, if that area changed, it may now only be able to absorb a 10-year storm.
NOAA scientists are now working to factor climate change into those storm predictions, but
it doesn't matter what the actual number value on that storm was. We know that we need to be more proactive and we need to go after the truly worst case scenario, and you kind of bump in that direction.
So between climate change and our changing infrastructure, it might be time for cities and states to prepare for more than a 100-year storm of the past.
So in 2018, the City of Boulder decided to protect the city against a 500-year flood. But CU didn't like that because it used a bit more of CU South property. And CU refused to agree to 500-year protection. As a result, the city caved in and reduced flood protection to 100 years. Fort Collins had protected the city against a 100-year flood. But in 1997, it was hit with a larger flood, which caused 5 deaths, 54 injuries, and $200 million worth of damages.
The university does not deny that they could have granted an easement for flood protection, but they didn't want to just offer flood protection to the city. They want to be able to build a very large development back there, and they want to have the utilities available for that. In packaging this as a flood protection deal, they have gotten a ton of development rights, and City Council approved this. The voters didn't get to actually consider the nuts and bolts of what went into this agreement.